Kurt Bardella's News Nation political contributor, Democratic strategist. Carly Atchison's former national spokesperson for the Ron DeSantis campaign. Kurt, on this issue first, Walz, it was a story for a few days, went away. I guess it's still there. What do you say about how he's been handling the criticism of his record in the military?
I think what he just said is the line. I'm proud of my more than 2 decades of military service. I don't think that an attack coming from Donald Trump particularly is going to be that effective when you consider this is the guy who used bone spurs to get out of the Vietnam War draft and has 0 record of service. And I just think we're at a point in politics where, listen, if the worst thing you have to say about a candidate and a nominee is you don't like their record of military service for our country, okay, we'll live with that, because there are far other major issues that you could attack this campaign on that I think play better, are more widely known and more widely believed. This is not going to be one of them. That's not going to work.
I don't think you're going to volunteer those issues, because that would hurt your own cause. You'd be talking your own book. But what do you agree with that, Carly? Would you be going after other things? Obviously, Kurt's talking about maybe the economy, immigration, things like that, or would you stick on something like this? What do you say?
2 points. One, I think the reason this is a story is because of Tim Walz's own words. He misled the American people about his service, and so that presents an opportunity for the Trump campaign to go on offense, and they should. But as far as what their core message should be, I believe that still remains should be focused on the top 2 issues for persuadable voters in battleground states. If that means the economy and immigration. So I think that go on offense where you can, where you get an opening, but make sure the core message is disciplined and on the top 2 issues.
If we had to rate issues in terms of who has the advantage, the economy, even though that last poll showed Harris a little ahead of Trump, which was interesting, but usually it's Trump, economy and immigration, Harris, abortion politics, big advantage. Let me go to the New York Times headlines. I want to talk a little bit about Arizona. Arizona will vote on abortion in November. Could that give Democrats an edge? Talking about turnout in a key battleground state. Now, Trump seems to think maybe this is not as big of an issue anymore. Here's what he said the other day.
I think that abortion has become much less of an issue. It's a very small, I think it's actually going to be a very small issue. What I've done is I've done what every Democrat and every Republican wanted to have done, and we brought that issue back to the states.
Okay. Let me start with Carly this time on that. But of course, obviously, we know that not every person wanted that to happen. Not everybody was in favor of Roe v. Wade being overturned. Now, on the other part of it, on whether abortion's a big issue or not, it could drive turnout, and they say it is on the ballot, say in Arizona. That's a battleground state. What do you think, Carly, of the impact?
I think Democrats are very effective on this issue, regardless of the facts or the fact that, this is something that maybe the abortion ban allows up to 24 weeks. That's maybe a little bit too far for most voters, but it doesn't matter. Democrats are extremely effective on this issue. And anytime Republicans are battling about abortion and not talking about the economy or immigration, that puts us on the back foot. I don't think that this news is good news for Republicans, but I'm not sure at the end of the day, it depends on how Republicans do in terms of talking about immigration and border security, which is obviously also a huge issue in Arizona.
Yes.
So plays out.
That's usually the number one issue, by the way. We always say, the economy's number one. Arizona, many times, it's immigration when it's polled. But on abortion, Kurt, yes, advantage Democrats, but I would argue the candidate matters, right? That Biden wasn't the best messenger. I mean, if it's just as simple as having an old Catholic guy versus Kamala Harris as a woman speaking about this issue, that's a bigger advantage, don't you think, for Democrats?
Well, absolutely. And I think the good news for Democrats is when you look at all the elections that we have had, special elections, midterm elections, since Roe was overturned, where abortion is on the ballot in very red states like Kentucky, that we saw Democrats overperform, Republicans underperform. We saw Republicans in the midterms talk almost exclusively about the border. There was all this talk and hysteria about a caravan invasion going in the run-up to the midterm elections, and it did not move the needle more than abortion did at the ballot box. And so now, and that was with Joe Biden at the top, right? That's what Joe Biden, with his unpopularity, unfavorable ratings, tanking Democrats. That's why everyone thought there'd be a red wave. Well, now it's Kamala Harris, a woman, carrying this message that is going to be so much more effective. So for Donald Trump to sit up there and say, this isn't really that big of a deal anymore, That's not going to work.
So let's talk about where the race is now. Arizona is a key state. You know, we're always talking about paths to victory, and if Arizona's back in play, is Georgia and Nevada as well. It's not just the blue wall for Harris. Trump has to defend those states that Biden won. I think it was interesting. I would bring up the Time magazine piece, Carly, on Harris, and the reason is because, and I'll read from the quote on it, the reintroduction of Kamala Harris, right? Harris, they write, may still be the underdog. Trump arguably has the clearer path to 270 electoral votes and an edge on the issues that voters say are most important to them. Obviously, the ones we were talking about. Tablet here, I have the polling average, and when you put RFK Jr. on the, on the list, I'm not sure if that's the correct characterization anymore, Carly, of this race, that Kamala Harris is an underdog. Maybe in the Electoral College, but I don't even think there anymore. How do you see the race?
Right now, I see Democrats taking huge advantage of the fact that the media refuses to do their jobs and press Kamala Harris, who is now the Democrat nominee, on her numerous. So she continues to get away with positions that she's held in the past. Remember, this is funny to me. She gets a reintroduction, even though in 2020, less than 4 years ago, she was the worst Democrat in the primary field. She dropped out before Iowa. Now they're all acting like she gets this blank slate and nobody's pressing her on the fact that she said she wanted to ban fracking. Does she still? It seems like that's just such a reflection on the professionalism of our media. I think the American people deserve to know what are her policy stances. And also, to that point, why isn't she doing it now? She's running ads right now about adding more border agents. Why wouldn't she? Now.
I don't disagree with you. I've said this to Kurt, too. I don't disagree with you that she should do an interview. I think she should. I think she owes it to the people to do an interview. She's going to have she should. She should do an interview. I think Carly's right about that. She owes it to the voters. She's supposedly going to talk about the economy, I think, on Friday. But, Kurt, she's going to have to sit down and do an interview. Carly is right about that part. But what about the other part as well, about the race and where you see it? Would you still say she's an underdog?
Well, here's what's funny to me about that. We have heard since Donald Trump came onto the stage a nonstop chorus from them. You can't trust the media. The media is rigged. The media is biased. The media is fake news. And now they're whining about the media not doing the work they think they should do. I just think it's very ironic that that's the clarion call right now for Republicans, is this media they have spent years demonizing and attacking. Now they're like, oh, why aren't they doing their job? I just find that to be really, really hilarious.
All right, Kurt, thank you. Carly as well. We've got to run here today. Good.